In the original story, Anakin's haunting visions of Padme dying in childbirth drove him into fear and desperation, which Palpatine exploited to lure him to the dark side. Without those visions, Anakin's fall would take a very different path, or might never happen at all. Anakin Skywalker walked through the Jedi Temple with calmness in his heart. Without visions of Padme's death haunting his mind, his nights were peaceful and his thoughts were clear. He still loved Padme deeply, but without the fear of losing her, his love was steady instead of desperate. The shadows that Palpatine hoped to use against him never took root. The Jedi Council remained cautious of Anakin, especially when they denied him the rank of Master. He felt frustration, yes, but not the burning anger that would drive him to betray his brothers and sisters in the Order. Padme's voice of reason guided him often, reminding him of patience, reminding him that true strength came not from power, but from wisdom. Palpatine continued to whisper promises of greatness, speaking of the corruption of the Senate and the weakness of the Jedi. But Anakin listened with guarded ears. Without the terror of Padme's imagined death, Palpatine's words felt thin. When a moment came and Mace Windu confronted the Chancellor, Anakin entered the chamber not as a man torn apart by fear, but as a Jedi Knight ready to serve the light. Palpatine's lightning cracked against Mace's blade, filling the air with fire and fury. Anakin stood firm. Instead of striking down the Jedi Master, he raised his own saber against Sidious. Together, Windu and Skywalker forced the Sith Lord back. The battle raged, but Anakin's clarity and power gave the Jedi the edge. Sidious fell that night, his plans broken, his empire unborn. Order 66 still echoed across the stars as clones turned on their generals. Yet this time, Anakin stood with the Jedi, cutting through betrayal and rallying survivors. The temple was scarred, but not destroyed. The Order bent, but it did not fall. Padme lived. When the time came, she gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them in his arms with tears of joy, not sorrow. Together with Padme, he dreamed of a future not of war, but of peace. The galaxy slowly healed. The Jedi Order rebuilt with lessons learned, guided by Anakin's strength and compassion. He became not a fallen knight of darkness, but the chosen one who fulfilled the prophecy by standing in the light. Anakin Skywalker was still the most gifted Jedi of his generation, yet his heart was calm in this path. Without the dream of Padme dying in childbirth, he never carried the heavy weight of fear that once poisoned his choices. He looked at Padme not with desperation, but with steady love, trusting that their future together would not be stolen. The Jedi Council continued to test him, keeping their guard high and denying him the rank of Master. Frustration stirred within him, but it did not become rage. He respected their decision, even though he felt it was unfair. Padme was always there, speaking softly to him about patience and faith. Her words gave him balance, reminding him that fear was the true enemy of a Jedi. Palpatine watched all of this with growing frustration. He spoke of power, of destiny, of a greater path, but Anakin did not cling to his promises. Without the fear of Padme's death burning in his soul, those temptations lost their weight. When Palpatine revealed himself as the Sith Lord, Anakin's mind was clear. He informed Mace Windu, and together they entered the Chancellor's chamber to face him. The battle was fierce. Lightning lit the air, striking against Mace's blade. Palpatine's strength was great, but Anakin did not waver. He chose to stand by the Jedi, striking with purpose, fighting for the light. In the end, Palpatine fell, his plans shattered, his darkness broken by the very man he sought to control. Yet the war was not over. Across the galaxy, clones turned their weapons on the Jedi. But this time, Anakin fought alongside his brothers in the Order. His presence saved many. The temple was attacked, but Anakin defended it with courage, helping masters and younglings alike survive the storm. The Order suffered, but it endured. Padme later gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them with pride, vowing to raise them in peace, not fear. With Padme at his side, he guided the rebuilding of the Jedi, not as a fallen knight, but as the chosen one who had brought true balance to the Force. Anakin Skywalker rose each morning with peace in his heart. His love for Padme was strong, but it was not clouded by visions of death. He had no dreams of her final breath, no nightmare of losing her to the shadows. Instead, he trusted in life, trusted in their bond, and trusted that the Force would guide them both. The Jedi Council continued to watch Anakin closely. They still questioned his attachment. They still refused him the rank of master, but he carried that burden with patience. Though frustration stirred, it never became fury. Padme's gentle wisdom reminded him that the Order's path was long, and that his destiny would not be denied by pride or fear. In secret halls, Palpatine whispered of greatness, of power beyond the Jedi. He spoke of corruption in the Republic and painted himself as the one true savior. But Anakin's ears were not blinded by fear. Without visions of Padme's death, the promise of forbidden knowledge meant nothing. He did not crave it. He did not beg for it. When Mace Windu came to confront the Chancellor, Anakin entered the chamber with certainty. Palpatine revealed his true face, unleashing the storm of the Sith. Blue lightning filled the air, striking against Mace's blade. But this time, Anakin stood with the Jedi. His saber joined the fight. His voice cried out against the darkness. Together, Anakin and Windu pushed Sidious back. The duel ended with the Sith Lord defeated, his empire destroyed before it could begin. Across the galaxy, Order 66 was given. The clones turned against their Jedi generals. But Anakin Skywalker did not march on the temple in shadow. Instead, he defended it, rallying his brothers and sisters in the Force. The halls of the temple echoed with battle, yet many survived because he stood in the light. When the war ended, Padme gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them close, his eyes filled with joy instead of sorrow. He dreamed not of broken futures, but of hope. With Padme by his side, he helped rebuild the Jedi. He was not lost to darkness. He was the chosen one who brought balance as a true Jedi Knight. Anakin Skywalker walked through the Jedi Temple with a steady mind. He still carried doubts about the Council and its strict rules, but there was no heavy fear twisting his heart. Without visions of Padme's death haunting him, his love remained calm and true. He did not fear losing her, and that single change kept the darkness from taking hold. The Council still did not trust him fully. They denied him the rank of master, and anger stirred, but it never burned into rage. Anakin accepted the burden, believing that time and patience would bring recognition. Padme's words stayed with him, soft and gentle, reminding him that the future was not for him to control. Her voice was a light, guiding him back whenever doubt tried to pull him away. Palpatine tried again and again to plant seeds of mistrust. He spoke of the Jedi as weak, of the Republic as broken, and of power that only the Sith could offer. But without the terror of Padme's imagined death, Anakin had no hunger for forbidden knowledge. The lure of power was weaker than the bond of love and trust he shared with Padme. When Mace Windu moved to arrest the Chancellor, Anakin did not stand in conflict. He entered the chamber and saw clearly. Sidious unleashed his lightning, filling the room with fire and shadows, but Anakin raised his saber alongside Mace. Their blades struck as one, pushing the Sith Lord back. The fight was fierce, but Anakin's strength turned the tide. Sidious was defeated, his final scream fading into silence. The command for Order 66 still came, and clones raised their weapons against their generals. But this time Anakin did not lead them in darkness. He stood with the Jedi, defending the temple and protecting the younglings. Many Jedi still fell, yet many more survived because of his courage. When the war ended, Padme lived to see peace. She gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them with joy, vowing to raise them in light. With Padme by his side, he became not a fallen knight, but the Jedi who fulfilled the prophecy and brought balance to the Force. Anakin Skywalker was still the most powerful Jedi of his time, but his heart was not consumed by fear. Without a vision of Padme dying, he did not cling to her with desperation. His love was steady, his mind clear, and the shadows that once haunted him never had a chance to grow. He trusted in the Force, and he trusted that their lives together would not be stolen by fate. The Jedi Council remained cautious. They denied him the title of Master, and their distrust lingered. Yet Anakin did not break under the weight of pride. He accepted their judgment, though he still felt it was unfair. Padme's voice gave him strength. She reminded him that power meant nothing without peace, and that the future of the Republic needed patience and faith. Palpatine continued to weave his web of lies. He spoke of destiny, of a greater path, and promised knowledge beyond the Jedi. But Anakin did not crave such secrets. The fear that would have made him vulnerable was absent, and so the Chancellor's words carried little weight. Anakin saw him more as a politician than a savior, and he began to sense the shadows behind his mask. When the truth was revealed, and Mace Windu went to arrest Palpatine, Anakin did not hesitate. He entered the Chancellor's chambers as a Jedi, not as a man torn by conflict. Palpatine struck with lightning. The room filled with crackling energy, but Anakin stood firm. His blade joined Mace's in defense of the Jedi Order. Together, they pressed Sidious back, and with skill and unity, they brought an end to the Sith Lord's reign before it began. Order 66 still echoed through the stars, but this time Anakin did not betray the temple. He fought beside his fellow Jedi, protecting them from the betrayal of the clones. Though the battle was fierce and many were lost, the temple did not fall into shadow. The Jedi survived to rebuild. Padme lived to see peace return. She gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia, while Anakin watched with tears of joy. With his family beside him, he became the chosen one not through tragedy, but by fulfilling the prophecy in the light. Anakin Skywalker lived his days as a Jedi with a clearer heart. He still carried doubts about the Council and frustration with their decisions, but without dark visions of Padme's death, he did not drown in fear. His love for her was strong, but it was not desperate. He believed their life together would continue, and that trust kept him steady when shadows tried to reach him. The Council's refusal to grant him the rank of Master still wounded his pride, yet the wound did not cut deep enough to turn him against them. He grumbled, he questioned, but he did not hate. Padme often reminded him that anger was a chain, and that freedom came through patience. Her words softened his heart, guiding him to choose calm where once he might have chosen rage. Palpatine watched with sharp eyes, waiting for weakness. He spoke of hidden powers, of saving lives, of the strength only the Sith could give. But Anakin listened without hunger. Without the terror of losing Padme, the promise of forbidden knowledge had no hold on him. He began to see the Chancellor's whispers as manipulation rather than truth. When Mace Windu confronted Palpatine, Anakin followed, not in doubt, but in certainty. The duel erupted in lightning and fire, with Mace's blade holding strong against the Sith. Anakin ignited his saber, not to betray the Jedi, but to defend them. Together, they pressed Sidious until his dark power broke. The Sith Lord fell that night, defeated by the very man he had tried to corrupt. The order to kill the Jedi still spread across the galaxy, but Anakin did not march in shadow. He raised his blade against betrayal, fighting beside the order he had once doubted. Many Jedi survived because of his strength, and the temple, though scarred, stood in the light. Padme's life was never in danger. She gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them close, his joy overflowing, his fear forgotten. With Padme at his side and the Jedi rebuilding, Anakin fulfilled the prophecy as the chosen one, not by falling and returning, but by never falling at all. Anakin Skywalker was still restless in spirit, but his path was no longer poisoned by visions of death. He did not wake at night in terror of Padme's final breath. He did not see her fading away in dreams that burned like fire. Instead, his love for her was steady, not desperate, and he trusted that the Force would guide their future together. The Jedi Council remained stern and cautious. They withheld the title of Master, and Anakin bristled at the insult, but it did not drive him toward betrayal. He carried the weight of their distrust with patience, believing that time would reveal his true worth. Padme reminded him often that greatness was not measured by titles, but by choices. Her voice gave him calm in moments when pride could have undone him. Palpatine's shadow grew thicker, but his grip on Anakin was weak. The Chancellor promised him secret powers, spoke of knowledge the Jedi feared, and painted himself as a friend. Yet Anakin was not desperate for answers. Without the terror of losing Padme, the words fell flat. He began to sense the deception beneath Palpatine's kindness, and suspicion filled the space where fear once lived. When Mace Windu came to arrest the Chancellor, Anakin followed with resolve. He entered the chamber as lightning split the air. Palpatine unleashed his fury, but Anakin stood by the Jedi. His blue blade shone bright, clashing with the red. Mace and Anakin fought as one, their strength combined breaking through the storm. In the end, Palpatine fell, his plans crushed before they could be born. The command for Order 66 still spread across the galaxy, and clones turned on their generals. But Anakin did not lead them into darkness. He defended the temple with unshaken courage, protecting younglings and masters alike. The Jedi suffered, but they did not vanish. Hope survived because Anakin chose the light. Padme later gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin's heart overflowed with joy as he held them, his fears gone, his love unbroken. With Padme and his children by his side, he became the chosen one who fulfilled the prophecy not through tragedy, but by remaining in the light. Anakin Skywalker's journey through the Clone Wars was filled with battles and victories, yet his heart carried peace it once lacked. Without visions of Padme's death haunting him, there was no fear to twist his love into desperation. He trusted the Force, and he trusted that their lives would continue together, unbroken by fate. The Jedi Council still doubted him. They refused to give him the rank of Master, and he felt the sting of their judgment, but it did not consume him. He questioned their choices, but his loyalty remained. Padme's gentle words reminded him that fear and anger could only lead him astray, and her guidance kept his spirit calm when pride threatened to rise. Palpatine worked carefully, whispering promises of power and painting visions of a greater destiny. He tried to convince Anakin that the Jedi were weak and that the Republic needed new strength. But the Chancellor's words could not take root in soil free of fear. Anakin listened, but did not hunger for forbidden secrets, and his trust in Palpatine slowly began to fade. When Mace Windu discovered the truth, Anakin was ready. He entered the Chancellor's office with certainty, not confusion. Lightning cracked from Palpatine's hands, filling the room with shadows and fire. But Anakin's blue blade struck beside Mace's. The two Jedi united in purpose. Their strength overwhelmed Sidious, and the Sith Lord fell, defeated before his empire could rise. The command for Order 66 still rang out, turning clone against Jedi across the galaxy. Yet this time Anakin did not betray the temple. He stood at its gates, defending the masters and younglings from destruction. Though the losses were heavy, many survived because he chose the light. The Jedi bent under the storm, but did not break. Peace slowly returned, and Padme gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia. Anakin held them in his arms with joy, his heart free of sorrow. With his family beside him and the Jedi Order alive, he became the chosen one not through falling and redemption, but by remaining steadfast in the light from the very beginning. Anakin Skywalker carried himself with strength and clarity. The battles of the Clone Wars tested him, yet his mind was not clouded by dread. Without a vision of Padme's death, he did not fear her loss. His love was steady, not desperate, and his choices were not guided by terror. He believed their life together would endure, and that belief kept him balanced when temptation tried to reach him. The Jedi Council remained distant. They did not grant him the title of master, and the decision frustrated him, but it did not turn him bitter. He accepted their doubts, though he longed to prove himself. Padme reminded him that true greatness came not from titles, but from the courage to act with honor. Her voice was a compass, pointing him always back to the light. Palpatine still whispered in secret, painting visions of power and control. He promised strength greater than the Jedi, knowledge that could reshape destiny. But Anakin's heart was not desperate for such promises. The Chancellor's mask of friendship began to crack, and Anakin saw more clearly the shadow that hid beneath. When Mace Windu came to confront Palpatine, Anakin walked into the chamber with certainty. The air burned with lightning as the Sith Lord revealed his full power. Mace stood firm, his blade catching the storm, and Anakin ignited his saber beside him. Together, their strikes forced Sidious back, their strength united. The battle ended with the Sith Lord defeated, his plans undone before they could take hold. Across the galaxy, Order 66 was given, and clones turned their weapons on their Jedi commanders. Yet Anakin did not lead them into betrayal. He fought to defend the temple, guiding younglings to safety and striking alongside his fellow Jedi. Though the night was filled with loss, many survived because of his courage. Padme lived untouched by shadow. She gave birth to twins, Luke and Leia, and Anakin held them with joy and pride. With Padme by his side, and the Jedi standing strong, he became the chosen one by walking fully in the light, never needing to fall into darkness to fulfill his destiny. Anakin Skywalker was known as a warrior of great power, yet his heart remained calm in this path. Without dark visions of Padme's death haunting him, he no longer lived in fear of losing her. His love was strong, but it was not twisted into desperation. He trusted the Force, trusted their bond, and believed that life would give them the future they both dreamed of. The Jedi Council continued to hold him at a distance. They refused him the rank of master, and their lack of trust weighed on him, but it did not break his spirit. He still questioned them, still felt the sting of their doubt, yet he did not let anger rule his choices. Padme reminded him that peace was stronger than pride, and her wisdom anchored him when his emotions threatened to rise. Palpatine watched closely, weaving lies with soft words. He spoke of power greater than the Jedi, of secrets hidden in the dark, and of destinies too grand to be denied. Yet Anakin did not hunger for these promises. Without the shadow of Padme's death, there was nothing for the Chancellor to exploit. Slowly, Anakin began to sense the falsehood behind his mask of kindness. When the time came, and Mace Windu entered the Chancellor's chamber to make the arrest, Anakin followed with clarity. Palpatine's face twisted with fury, lightning flashing from his hands. The chamber shook with fire and rage, but Anakin did not falter. His saber joined Mace's in the clash, their combined strength pushing Sidious back. The battle ended with the Sith Lord's defeat, his empire broken before it could rise. Across the galaxy, the order was given for clones to turn on their Jedi leaders. Blaster fire filled the stars, but Anakin did not march in shadow. He defended the temple, protecting masters, knights, and younglings from betrayal. The losses were heavy, but the order survived because he chose the light. Padme's life was never in danger. She gave birth safely to twins, Luke and Leia, while Anakin held them with tears of joy. With his family safe and the Jedi alive, he fulfilled the prophecy as the chosen one by remaining true to the light.